I've never ever faked an orgasm.
Really?
I just think because I'm selfish.
The more I've spoken about it, the more receptive guys have been because they want to know, they want to learn. Not all of them, and they should.
I don't think I'd have the heart to be like, do you know what, babe, like, that wasn't it. This is wild.
Hey guys, I'm Ella Eyre, and this is the Truth Flirts, the unfiltered, brutally honest series talking all about dating, brought to you by dating app Badoo, the place to date honestly. This week, we're talking all about the Big O and why a certain gender historically is climaxed earlier and more often than the rest. Why in 2020 are we still talking about the orgasm gap? What's going on, girls? Joining me today, we have the lovely Megan Barton-Hanson, model and star of 2018's Love Island series. Also joining me, we have the gorgeous Sarah Mulwindwa, qualified sexual health nurse and the queen of E4's The Sex Clinic. I've actually been really excited for this episode because me and my girlfriends talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a fun one, so I'm gonna start with the stat. 19% of women say that they have fewer orgasms than men. So why in 2020 are we still talking about the orgasm gap, do you think?
I think lack of education. I just think people expect men to want sex more, people expect men to enjoy sex more, and with women, the same emphasis is not sort of put on there. And then also, it's harder for women to orgasm than it is for men. It takes longer, and it can take years for you to also be comfortable in your own skin to know what you want as a woman. So I think that, the education around it is still a little bit scarce.
Yeah, what do you think, Megan?
Yeah, and I think for women, it's more of like a mental thing. Like, I think you've got to really be in the moment. And just girls don't really just speak and say that they like sex. I feel like girls feel intimidated or like they'll be slut-shamed if they're like, I like sex.
Yeah.
And it's a perfectly normal thing to say.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, like, in my opinion as well, I think that masturbation is a bit of a taboo among young people. And so, like, how are we supposed to know what we want? And how are we going to get there and climax when we're not even sure ourselves?
Not empowered to talk about it.
Yeah, and so there's like less women having orgasms because they don't feel confident enough to explore themselves, explore, what it is that they like and what it's going to take for them to get to that point so that they can tell that guy.
And I think also there's another element of that. With men, we know that when a man's ready for sex, he gets an erection. That's how a man physically knows that he's ready for sex.
Yeah.
With women, it's less obvious, but a woman also needs to be physically ready for sex as well before she then enjoys it. It's like, as a girl, you wouldn't just jump on a guy unless, he had an erection. With men, I think they just feel that they can just sort of just get straight in there with girls and they're just ready. But with women, like you said, Megan, it's more psychological and emotional. So you kind of have to take your time and sort of gear them up for them to also be ready for sex and then in order for them to then enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard sometimes to explain that you have to be stimulated mentally as well in order to get to that place. Because, it's not just about being attracted to somebody. I think if your boyfriend hasn't been very nice to you that day, you're not going to be able to come, are you? It's like, I don't even want to do this. Badoo data has shown that 47% of women in the UK said that they have faked an orgasm to please their partner. Are you surprised by that number?
I've never ever faked an orgasm.
Really?
I just think because I'm selfish, and again, I think
That's a good thing,
and
yeah.
like you said, you're just gonna lead someone down the garden path, and they're gonna think you're into it when you're really, really not.
Yeah.
And I just think I'm just digging myself a hole here. And also, if someone lied to me and was like pretended, like not that boys can, but like if a girl lied and pretended, and then I found out that she didn't, I'd be devastated.
Yeah,
so I'd rather
it's
just
true.
be honest, although sometimes it's a little bit brutal. But I think it's the way you say it. If it was like, oh, a little bit like this or a little bit, you don't have to be like, oh my God, that was terrible. What the hell was that? As long as you're nice about it. Constructive criticism.
I feel like there's also a fear around being honest about it because I think as I grow up, like, if you fancy a boy, but you weren't quite sure if that was good or you don't really know, but you don't know how to talk about it because out of fear of them not fancying you anymore and not wanting to do it anymore. And I think that, like, as I've got older, actually, the more I've spoken about it, the more receptive guys have been because they want to know, they want to learn. Not all of them, and they should, but like some of them really do. Most of them really want to like make sure that you're having a good time, and I think that's a really sexy quality in a man when they show interest.
When they care about your
about
pleasure.
your enjoyment too. 22% of people in the UK said they find it awkward talking about what they like in bed with a new partner. So do we need to be more open and honest about what it is that we want from a new partner?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's the only way, literally, that you're gonna get what you want. Otherwise, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So unless you vocalise what you like, you're just not gonna get it. And then, you know, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it? If you don't enjoy sex. But I actually would have expected that number to be much higher. Because it is, and I think even in an established relationship, if you've never kind of had that conversation, it could be a little bit awkward. But I think once you normalise it and you talk about it, then I think it would be fine. But I would have thought it'd be higher, would you?
Yeah, I thought it would have been higher. But I know, like, sometimes when it is in a relationship, I'm a little bit introverted. I'm like, I wouldn't maybe say it and just bring it out in the blue.
Yeah. Right.
But, like, I'll just show it and be like, maybe a little bit like this, or do something like this. I think it's the way you say it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could sit there and look at someone and be like, right, so get your notepad out. I like this. Imagine.
But I guess when it's a new partner, you're still getting to know them. You don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
And maybe you've had a bad experience with somebody where you've tried to tell them
upset
that.
someone's feelings.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, it's quite an intimate place to be. So to be telling somebody that they're not doing it right is like,
When this whole time they were thinking, well, so-and-so was screaming at the house.
Yeah, exactly. How do you communicate with a new sexual partner if they haven't made you orgasm?
Well, communication is about what? 80 or 90% non-verbal anyway.
Yeah.
So even just like movements of hands in certain positions and like, you know, changing the pace, like moving them to certain... I think you can communicate in so many different ways without actually saying, do you know what, I'm not really enjoying how you're doing it, like this is how I want you to do it. I mean, you can say it like that and just sort of be upfront, because some guys like that as well. They find it a bit of a turn on.
Yeah.
But just like little movements and just say, okay, and just verbal, you know, just vocally say, yeah, I like that. Just, you can even just say it.
Yeah.
You know, during sex. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd be more of a hinter. I wouldn't directly say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to hurt someone's feelings.
No, I know, right? Yeah.
When would be a good time to have the conversation about what you want?
I don't think there's a sort of right or wrong time. Well, obviously there's a wrong time, not like sort of in the middle of dinner, but like, as in stage in the relationship. I think also what you like might change as time progresses. You might discover new things that you didn't know, and you're like, oh, babe, you know, when you did that, like that was great. You know, I think initially maybe wait a few times and just see, because give them time as well. Maybe not the very first time you have sex, because that's a lot of pressure. So just give them a bit more time to sort of get into the groove of things and then sort of put it in there. But I don't think, like, even after being together for years, you can still sort of have that conversation.
See, I think I'm really into the idea of doing it on the first time now, because I just think that it's like, let's not waste any more time. Yeah, I think if anything, it's then, because if you allow it to get to the second time, they then might think that the first time was great.
It's great, yeah.
And then I think we should be encouraging men and women really to be asking at the end, like, how was that for you? Because I think I can't think how many times I've been asked that from the other side, you know.
Realistically, because I don't think I'd have the heart to be like, do you know what, babe, like, that was just not even the one. That wasn't it. I'm more likely, if I'm being honest, I'm more likely to just say, yeah, like, that was great at the time, and then maybe tell them in subtle different ways.
Yeah, but like during. I think during's fine. If like it's like, I'll just move there.
Oh,
do
yeah,
this.
during's fine.
Yeah.
Like, give some
rather
direction.
than wait to the end and then be like,
and be like, yeah, it's true. Because it's like, well, you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, during for sure.
I think communication, like if you, like you said, oh, like do this a little bit or do that, it's like a bonding experience. You're both learning about each other's body. It's not like you're doing it in silence.
How old were you when you first learned what an orgasm was? I actually don't think I know the answer to this question.
I was quite old, so I remember I lost my virginity and I was like, what the hell is that? And it wasn't until I remember I went like horse riding and I had this weird feeling. I was like, I've never had that tingle before.
Wow.
I've heard of this, horse riding.
So I think I just tried to recreate that. So I actually discovered it myself when I was older.
So I'd say maybe late 20s. And that again came from a long-term relationship with somebody I felt super comfortable with. And so it just sort of happened organically. So for me, it happened like in the most natural way that I could have hoped for.
Exactly.
So I went to an all-girls school, so I think that also played into that whole... And it was a Catholic girls' school, and we didn't really have like good sex education. It was kind of like, this is how you avoid pregnancy, wait till you're married, because it was a Catholic school.
Yeah. Also in school, I don't remember my sex education classes that well, but what I do remember is that none of it was fun.
No.
None of it was actually that educational. It was sort of like, yeah, we'll scientifically tell you what happens, but we're not going to tell you how to do it enjoyably or positively. It's just like, well, if this enters here and this happens, you have a baby. Yeah, it's very technical, and I think that like it would be really interesting to start implementing in schools. I don't know if they have, but I feel like they should.
Yeah,
because I think I would find it really interesting and I think really helpful, because I think it's a really scary thing, particularly for women, to go into for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And so to not really know what you're supposed to expect other than you might get pregnant is quite terrifying, I think.
I had like a terrible experience at school, so I was actually slut-shamed so bad at school because it was an older boy and he asked me to send him something. Luckily, I didn't crumble. I didn't send him anything, but he was like, "I bet you haven't done it. You're just a little girl, aren't you?" So then I was like, yeah, I've done it. Never done anything. So my years at school, I was like ridiculed for that. So I think now, because I've had that, I own it. I'm like, yeah, women should be proud.
Apparently there's been a surge in lockdown of OnlyFans accounts. So what do you think about it?
I'm part of that. So I
Sick,
started...
amazing. Tell us more.
So before I went on Love Island, I was actually on it, and then I think it was a producer from the show that was like, "It's not really great for the image. It's a family show. Get off of that." And I was like, "Oh, damn it!" And then lockdown was happening, and obviously coming from that, and then doing webcam work in the past, I was like, girls on webcam are going to clean up. Everyone's bored at home, and men are going to be on there.
Yeah.
So I was like, ding ding. I was like, I'm definitely going to sign back up. And I was prepared. Like I had a lot of slut shaming and stuff like that, especially now because I'm in the public eye. People are like, "Oh, is your career like gone that quickly?" And it's like, not really.
So is it like video content and photo content as well?
Yeah, it's basically like an Instagram. So you can put whatever you want, short clips, videos, and go to whatever level you want. And I think this is amazing as well. So for women in like glamour modelling work, before they were kind of dictated to what they should do to be successful and get in the magazines and the lads mags, whereas now it's your own platform. You can be as creative as you want, you can go to whatever level you want, you can do like full-on videos with your boyfriend if you want, or you can just do like topless or just bikini and then charge what you want. So it's really good.
It's like taking the power back and owning it. I love that.
I didn't realise it'd been around like since before you were.
No, me neither.
I thought it was quite a relatively new thing.
No, it's just really blown up, I think, since lockdown. Loads of girls have jumped back on it, and then obviously Beyonce mentioned it in her song. It's gone wild.
Yes, that's it now. Once Beyonce mentions it.
Yeah, of course. Do you watch porn? Do you watch it for masturbation? Do you watch it with a partner? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I watch it not regularly. I think when I'm single and when, I don't know, I'm like talking to people, but it's not kind of at that level yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to talk too much about it with like someone I'm seeing until I see them in person. So yeah, I'll watch it occasionally. But I just think it's so hard to find something that's authentic. That's my biggest problem. I think a lot of porn is for the male gaze. And being bisexual myself, like obviously I'd watch like lesbian porn, but even that, it's so frustrating. It's always for the men. Like it's so fake. So set up. I'm like, oh.
Porn can be quite controversial. There's quite a lot of views on it. Do you think porn has a place in society?
I think definitely, like obviously I've worked in the sex industry, like I've been a stripper, I've done webcam, so I definitely think there's a place for it. I think it really needs to be like modernised and changed. Like I said with the whole lesbian thing, it's very for the male gaze. I think a lot of porn, no matter what category, is for the male gaze. And I think what's really good is, you know, like how Instagram, they have the verified accounts. They've started doing that with couples, and for me, that's like the porn I'd want to watch, where you know it's an actual couple who are actually in love and it's real.
I think there needs to be more open conversation about it, so that people know that actually this is not exactly as it might be in real life, and there are so many different elements to sex, but there's definitely a place for it. I think it just needs to be spoken about and explained to young people. Like you said, you know, you discovered it when you were quite young. Nobody has probably spoken to you about it by the time you discovered it. So I think implementing that in sex education in schools as well, so that children know the difference between real sex and like acting and porn and all that kind of stuff, and just sort of like giving it a bit more structure. And also have diversity in bodies as well, and not just have these typical sort of perfect, unattainable body types that have been sort of pushed for a long time, and just have different diversities, different heights, different breast size, just different body types, I think, so that people can feel seen as well. Because I think a lot of times, and especially for girls, is that there's this pressure to look a certain type of way, and they see other women naked, and sometimes porn's the only other place that they've seen another woman naked, and think, oh God, well my body doesn't look like that. And then it can really affect your self-esteem and your how you see yourself moving forward into your sex life. So I think definitely body diversity is important.
Do you think periods get in the way of girls understanding their bodies in this way?
With periods, you also have hormonal changes, and depending on different times of the month, your mood's going to change, your body physically is going to change. You may not want sex, or some people want sex more when they're in their period, and those are girls who just, they do not want any guy within a metre of them at any point during sex. So it can affect, And I think also period sex is like this new topic as well that's kind of being brought to the forefront, and because a lot of people do have period sex, more than we'll think. Of course, I think it's something that's been frowned upon for a long time, because it's kind of like, well, if you're on your period, that's like your time to just, you know, get through that stage of the month, and then, you know, it's a little bit seen as a little bit unclean.
Yeah.
But from my experience in talking to people about it, is that actually more people have sex on their period, because actually a lot of women want to have sex during their period. So it could be a pro and a con for some people, but I think it's being a little bit more normalised now, because your period does kind of affect, you know, how you have sex and your body as well.
First game that we're going to play is called Epic Slide. So I'm going to need you to dig deep, or just tell us about your most epic slides that you've received over the years. I know you must have some great ones.
I did have one girl, and she was like sending me all emojis of furniture. She's like, don't mind me just moving into your DMs. And then I did reply.
I quite like that though. That's a good opening line.
Yeah. It was really funny. And then she sent them again. I was like, don't mind me just moving out as you ignored me. I was like, oh, sorry.
Wow. Charismatic though. I think I might have replied to that one. Go on, you must have one.
I had one, I think it was like 3 weeks ago or something. And it was this guy, he basically wrote me like a whole letter just about how he wanted to be my slave, like a personal slave.
Wow.
Yeah, like listen to all the things that he would do for me, like all these like super kinky stuff, and like he would eat dinner off the floor for me, whatever I wanted.
Wow.
You know, I could use whatever toys to hit him with, and he had a thing for kitchen appliances, and I was just like, this is wild. Obviously, it made it in the group chat.
Of course. The next game we're going to play is called a cheeky blank, and you're going to use your whiteboards to fill in the blanks when I read out. Women pleasure themselves on average blank times a week.
Oh, a week.
Not a day.
Okay.
I was going to say, because the answer I was like, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, okay. We're close.
Yeah.
I would say probably 3. So the answer is 2. But I think it's probably on average, because some people don't masturbate at all, do they?
Yeah,
And some
for
people
months, even
masturbate
weeks,
a lot.
A lot, yes.
Wow, that got real. Thank you so much, ladies. That is it from us on orgasms, porn, and everything in between. If you need to get your next fix, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and tune into the next episode for more brutally honest chats. If today's episode has inspired you to get out there and find your next match, make sure you hit the download button below and give dating app Badoo a whirl to start dating more honestly.